Yo, fantasy community, welcome to Proper Things, the FPL show sponsored by the ttfsl. And it's your host, Michael, back again with episode 5 of season 2. And we back after the first week of the 24-25 FPL season. I hope all is well. I hope you all enjoyed a lot of points. On this episode, we'll just be going through my team to see how they did. We'll identify the red flags, hopefully have solutions to bring in transfers that will help rectify those red flags. Captaincy Corner will give you the best captaincy options for this game week, and of course some thoughts on how to go about game week 2 after a brilliant game week 1 or a disappointing game week 1, according to which end of the straw you had going into game week 2. So we're kicking things off with how my team did in game week 1. So looking back at my team for game week 1, we could see a 68-point start. It's not the worst start, but we were expecting around the 74, 75 point mark. So we fell a little short, but let's go over the team to see what really went on. So in goal, it was tough to watch that Crystal Palace clean sheet get wiped out. We were minutes away from celebrating the Eze free kick, and then Mbueno came back and scored the first, and then Visa was just on spot to tap home the second. So Henderson did have the 3 saves, so he did end up with 2 points on the game week, but we didn't get the clean sheet, so we're a little disappointed there. All after the Shah disaster class, getting that red card early in the piece, still managed to hold the clean sheet for Newcastle. He did get a yellow, so 5 points. Vadio returned the 6 points on the clean sheet versus Chelsea. And we have a Kwanzaa question here now with 45 minutes for Jarrell, and it's not looking good going into game week 2 as his gaffer didn't have the best words to say after pulling him after 45 minutes for Kanate. So we have to now wonder if Kwanzaa will be the starting centre-back going forward. In midfield, we had a great captain choice with Mo Salah scoring 14 points, so that doubled. Gave us the 28. Jota scored, kept the clean sheet for 8 points. Again, it was tough not getting the free kick goal from Eze, so he returned 2 points. And Kunku, there's another red flag there. Only 58 minutes, getting pulled 1 point. Mooney's didn't manage to return versus United, 2 points. A goal for Haaland, gave us 7. And then, of course, Isak with the Shah disaster class again, managing the assist in the 1-0 win for Newcastle. So he came away there with 68 points. So not too bad, but if you're looking at the bench, now we know that we have Robinson coming into the team. But as the time of recording here on Wednesday, we're hearing that Baku has agreed a loan to leave the Premier League and now will be joining La Liga. So basically, we'll be playing with 14 players, and then, of course, Wings just gave us the 2 points. So he'll just be our worker bee in case we need someone to come in just to give us the 2-3 points from Leicester. So as promised, now we're looking at my squad and we can see that there are 3 potential problems. But one has been already rectified, and it was code red on Kwanzaa, as you're already seeing a price drop for Kwanzaa. So I moved Kwanzaa on early and brought in Konza from Aston Villa as their prices matched. And while Konza will not be playing for me in game week 2, Aston Villa has a very healthy or very favorable fixture from game week 3. So I think I'll need that Aston Villa cover going forward. Of course, Robinson will be coming into the team. For those who have Kwanzaa now and still have a little money in the bank and are wondering what are the best options to, the alternative to Kwanzaa, I have 3, players here that could help solve those problems. If you're looking to move on Kwanzaa and potentially bring in someone for just 1 week, or a quick hitter as they say, but this is basically putting the problem of Kwanzaa as a headache and then shooting yourself in the thigh or stabbing yourself in the arm to get rid of that pain. I'm talking about Rico Lewis from Manchester City, who's also 4.5 million. While he does have the Ipswitch matchup this upcoming weekend in game week 2, we all know that Kyle Walker is scheduled to come back into this Manchester City team very soon. And even if it's not Kyle Walker, there are a plethora of options in City's defense. So while Rico Lewis may have the position nailed for game week 2, he could be a problem going forward. At 4.5 again, he will be 0.1 more than Kwanzaa. could give you that option that you don't really have to dip too much in the kitty to get another option. But again, this is another short-term option, and I could see you bringing in Rico Lewis for game week 2 and then potentially having to move him out very soon as well. So he's not really a long-term option, but if you're someone who is on an early wildcard and is sure going to play that wildcard early, Rico Lewis could be that option for you. The more stable option, or the option that I went for, is Konsa from Aston Villa. This is the guy I was initially going to start the season with, but with the FOMO coming in, with a lot of people rushing for Trent and covering up the Liverpool defense, I felt that I had to have a piece of the Reds defense. So that's why I went for Konsa. Well, that backfired very quickly in game week 1, and now I'm going back to Konsa. If you have extra money in the bank and are looking for something that could have a major upside, I think Maatsen from Aston Villa could provide that, as I am not playing Konsa in game week 2, and if you're not planning to play the guy you're bringing in for game week 2, I think Maatsen has a brilliant schedule from game week 3 onwards, and you will want to have part of Aston Villa team. And we saw in the 60-minute cameo that he had, he almost scored a goal and was close to getting an assist. So I think he has a lot of upside for the upcoming game weeks. And finally, a guy who is gaining a lot of hype, who I'm not too sure on, so he should stay away from this player, is Mazouari from Manchester United. I know he's the same 4.5 price tag as Konsa and Rico Lewis, but if you look at Manchester United's upcoming fixtures of Brighton and Liverpool in game weeks 2 and 3, I don't think that there are a lot of clean sheets there to be had for the Red Devils. As well as when they do come back after the international break, we expect a good update on Luke Shaw's return, or maybe the links to Chilwell become concrete and he will be available for game week 4. So that will lock up the left side of Manchester United's defense. And now on the right side, we have to remember that they also still have Diego Dalot. And if it's a timeshare between Mazouari and Dalot, I'm not too sure if I'd want to have a piece of that pie, as maybe one gets the European games or one gets the Premier League games, and we don't know which way that battle could shake out. So I don't think he's a great pick at 4.5, but I know a lot of people are rushing in on him. So I had to give my options on this. And of course, I have to mention the people who don't already have Robinson of Fulham. I already have him, so he's not listed here as someone I'd bring in. But if you don't have Robinson already, I think he's a very, very good pick, especially for game week 2 and 3. I think Fulham's defense is going to get boosted by the now arriving Anderson, formerly of Crystal Palace. He'll give them a boost. We know they have Leno in goal, so I think there could be a bigger chance now of them keeping clean sheets. Next red flag is, of course, we have to mention Nkunku and what to do with the Frenchman. Well, on Wednesday, we are already seeing that Chelsea have bought yet another player in João Felix of Atletico Madrid is inbound and ready to play for the blue side of London. And what are my thoughts now on Christophe Nkunku and what to do with him in game week 2? Well, I would say with the information that we have, if you have Nkunku, I would be holding going into game week 2 versus Wolves. I think at the 6.5 price tag, there's only one player thus far that I've identified that could be a straight swap if you don't have any budget in the bank or looking for that $6.5 million asset, and that's Matoma of Brighton. While Brighton had a brilliant game week 1 versus Everton, their schedule does now turn into red territory as they have Manchester United in game week 2, Arsenal in game week 3, and a very friendly game versus Ipswich after the international break. But we have to remember that Matoma will have to travel a fair few miles to play for Japan. So that's not really something that I want to buy right now. But if you're looking for a like-for-like substitution, I think Matoma is the guy you could go for. Again, if I had Christopher Nkunku, I would definitely hold and see how his minutes and how his performance look after game week 2 versus Wolves. But if you're intent on selling and you believe you've seen enough and you're looking for a like-for-like with the price tags, Matoma is the guy. If you're looking for something a little more expensive, since you have, some money in the bank, we already saw what Mbeumo did in the opening game versus my Crystal Palace defense and Henderson. Well, he does have Liverpool in game week 2, Southampton in game week 3, and Manchester City in game week 4. So 2 of the next 3 games are not very enticing, as they would say. But with all the bacchanal going on with Tony. Will he stay or will he go? Is he going to Saudi Arabia or will another team jump in? We know that Ambueno now boosts himself up to take the penalties for the Honeybees. So that is only more enticing to bring him in. Again, he's a $7 million asset. I think he's one of the best $7 million assets, and I'll definitely looking to bring him in around game week 5. But if you're intent on moving off Nkunku, I think he's the best $7 million asset currently in the game. And finally, if you're looking to downgrade and you're looking to probably free up some funds to invest in another position come game week 3, I think ESR or Emile Smith-Rowe from Fulham is a great pick as well. He's coming in at 5.5 million. The next 2 games for Fulham are absolutely enticing with Leicester and Ipswich on the cards and then West Ham on the other side of the international break. There is a little concern about the minutes and the fitness of ESR, as the coach did mention that he's gaining his way back up and he's wearing up for the season. But I think with the 2 fixtures on top, especially if you don't have Muniz, I think it's a great investment to go into the Fulham offense and maybe you could get yourself some points at a cheaper price tag. But again, I would implore the Nkunku owners to give it 1 more week and see what happens. Maybe he goes into the 10 and Palmer and Neto either side with Jackson up top, as I think it will take at least 1 more week for Felix to fully integrate himself into Maresca's team and start the lineup. So I do think you have 1 more week to see what goes on with Nkunku. And the final red flag is, of course, Barco, as he's on the verge of completing a loan move to La Liga at the time of recording. My thoughts on Barco is that he's a 4 million asset. And yes, if he does complete the loan move to La Liga, he will be playing with 14 players. While this is a problem, I don't think it's an urgent cry for help right now and you need to move on from Barco, as once the move is completed, he should be price locked very soon. So you're not going to lose a lot of money on Barco, hopefully. And if you have a backup on the bench in defense, or you have 4 playing defenders, you already have a making plan to help rotate and get a guy on the bench every time. So yes, it's not ideal to not have a player, to have a player in your team who will be giving you 0 points every game week. But right now, I think there are bigger fishes to fry, and you could allocate that free transfer better to optimize your team. So if you're a Barco owner, I don't think it's time to panic and move on the asset. You could hold until you have a better plan, or maybe one of those managers who is going into an early wildcard. But I don't think he's high up the totem pole if you're looking to make a transfer this game. And finally, just a special mention to players like Trent, Saka, and the Arsenal defenders. I know while you may think I didn't mention these players or didn't allocate them to bring them into my team, it's simply because of budgetary constraints. While you would like to have all the premium assets or the more sought after assets, it's practically impossible to have everyone. So unfortunately right now we can't bring in these assets, but we'll look to bring them in very soon in the upcoming game weeks. And now we have a segment here called Captaincy Corner. This is basically where I give you the 5 best assets to captain this upcoming game week. And I think for game week 2, it's practically straightforward on who the best captaincy option is for game week 2. If you have him, you already have that safety blanket and you're sleeping very soundly this upcoming game week, as Earling Haaland is the by far outstanding captaincy option for game week 2 versus Ipswich. I know there's a question on if to play the triple captain on the guy this upcoming game week, as a lot of players know there will be a lot less double game weeks for players this season, and Haaland at home versus Ipswich is one of the best fixtures, one of the single game week fixtures on paper. And remember the 20-point haul that he had early in the season versus Fulham, where he scored 3, assisted, walked away with the maximum bonuses, and 2 points for 20 again. So 60 points for those who triple captain him. While I do think this is a viable option and a very well sorted out plan for those who are planning to do it, I personally will not be triple captaining Haaland this upcoming game because I want the season to play out a little. And if you miss on the triple captain early, you always have that feeling of like you may have pulled the trigger too early. So I will definitely be captaining Haaland for game week 2, unless we hear something late that the guy is going to miss the game week, as I think he's by far and in a tier of his own when it comes to captaincy for Game Week 2. Second, and also in a tier of his own, for the captaincy in Game Week 2 is Mo Salah of Liverpool, the king of FPL. I think after that 14-point haul he had for Liverpool in Game Week 2, a lot of managers who don't have Haaland are just going to stick with the Egyptian maestro for Game Week 2. Liverpool do play Brentford, so it's a okay game to captain him. And I think that if you don't have Haaland, he's in a tier of his own for second. The third, fourth, and fifth position will be those who don't have these two premium assets. I think it's close for number 3, and those may have a little PTSD in putting the captaincy on Isak this upcoming game week after he only returned 5 points in game week 3 and game week 1, sorry. But I think that you shouldn't really think about it that way, as Fabian Shaw did a mad thing and got a red card that completely blew up Newcastle's game plan. And I think Isak could bounce back in a big way in Game Week 2. But I don't think he will come anywhere near the Haaland captaincy or Salah. So he comes in at number 3. In number 4, we have a bit of a differential captaincy in Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, if you saw him play the opening fixture versus Ipswich, you almost jumped out of your seat as a owner, as there were some brilliant passes for assists that Trent were playing, but unfortunately his attackers and his teammates didn't capitalize on it. I think it's only a matter of time before those passes and those shots turn into actual returns. So you could look at Trent as a captaincy option for Game Week 2. He comes in at number 4 on the poll. And finally, the cheeky ball players, I always like to say, this is for those who are looking for something totally off the cuff, something very differential. I have to go with Muniz of Fulham this upcoming game week. They have a great game on paper, and I think Muniz could prove to be one of those guys that hauls a little bit of points and provides a decent captaincy option against the green. Against Leicester, we already saw that Tottenham had a lot of opportunities and they were quite open in the back. I think Muniz and ESR will have a great game. I have Muniz just ahead of ESR, so he would be my number 5th captaincy option, or the cheeky ball option for game. And that brings us to the end of episode 5 of season 2 of Proper Things. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. I want to know what you all think, if you all like the assets mentioned, if you're not feeling the assets mentioned. I know a lot of people already got caught with the Kwanzaa price drop. Hopefully you're not one of those managers. Hopefully you have a little money in the bank so you could still make a move and bring in a player that you like. I hope that you also had a lot of points coming into Game Week 2 and you're feeling a little comfortable. You're not one of those managers who got things completely wrong. But if you did, remember that you always have time to fix it. There's no right or wrong way to play FPL. You just have to make a plan and make sure that you stick to it and you don't just knee-jerk at the first sign of trouble. So all the best to the managers out there going into Game Week 2. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts below so I know what you all are thinking going into Game Week 2. And don't forget to do proper things in all walks of life. I'll see you all soon.